Welcome to the Work Together Better podcast. Today we have a real treat for you. We're catching up with our good friend, Trisha Mercaldo. Trisha, how are you doing?
I'm doing great. Thank you.
Great. Wonderful to see you. Tommy, I skipped over the intro of my co-host, Tommy Ryan. Everybody knows him as the other Ball brother is here with me as well. How are you doing, Tom?
Nice and shiny.
Yeah.
That's right. Can you not move your head that way? No, just kidding.
I'm sure the shine goes up.
and just to let you know, Trisha, in our hearts, you'll always be number one. But we did do one of these video / podcasts with someone else before this.
Yes, I'm aware, but I'm good being number two as well. Seems to be my lot in life, but it's better than last. That's all.
Just as long as Alan doesn't rib you about it or anything like that, you'll always be number one to us. So
okay, thank you.
So I'm excited because we haven't caught up in a while, and I want to find out what you've been up to and just find out what's been going on with you recently.
So I've moved over to Advanced Auto Parts, located in Raleigh, North Carolina. I've been here for 10 weeks, but who's counting? Seems like a few years already, if that tells you anything. I went from a much slower pace in academia on the business side. I've moved back into IT, but in the PMO. So the exciting part about Advanced Auto Parts at this moment in time is that we have new C-levels, and we're restructuring the entire organization. The company is making some significant investments in not only technology updates and refresh, but we call it leapfrogging. It's a very exciting time to be here. It's a difficult time because everything is being transformed. You know, while we're rebuilding a true PMO, introducing Agile to the organization and trying to get all the standards in place, we're also managing very large portfolios of projects. I'm responsible for HR projects, finance projects, and supply chain, and we're combining our different banners into one with all of those. We just recently went live with Workday across the board, combining all the different banners that used to be totally separate. We're working on an Oracle ERP finance transformation where, again, everybody has their own ERP, and we're combining those to one. And supply chain, the same thing. We have, 40 plus distribution centers, and we're going to one warehouse management system. And that's just the beginning. So it's exciting. It's a lot, but it's super fun, and I'm enjoying kind of being back in the IT part of it, but not being responsible for a particular technology, which is kind of different for me too.
How does collaboration fit into what you're doing now? I guess it sounds like you're working with a lot of different moving parts with this.
Indeed. So the interesting thing is coming into yet another company, we have tools. We have Teams. People are using Teams.
Microsoft Teams, like what we're using right now.
Yeah. We have Office 365, but we're just using email.
Okay.
We have 4 different versions of SharePoint happening. The usual, and the value of those collaboration tools is not being leveraged across the organization. So while it is not exactly my job, at this particular moment, that I'm very anxious to get people to use those. So I'm already working with a couple of people to build out our IT PMO SharePoint site.
Nice.
So that we can show people what we are here to do, how the process will work, those kinds of things, as well as an internal PMO site. We have a kind of an older, maybe 2010 site, but everything is locked down. Nobody can see things, nobody can find things except for the two people who built it, right? So trying to change that mindset and show the value of the tools that you're already paying for. I can't get that out of my system, so I'm already trying to stay out of trouble. I have plenty to do, but I just leveraging those tools, I think, is really important for where we're trying to head.
You've seen how the impact of what goes on across the entire organization when people are given and enabled with these tools, and so I'm sure that's a part of. But I think it's really great you're in the PMO because you can, you're able to, you're part of the coordination of a lot of these projects, and
Right. It's fantastic, and the really great part is, from the board level, the CEO, and all the other C levels, all the way through the organization, they're very supportive of the transformation. So being in this place in the PMO, I do have the opportunity to influence better use of some of these tools. So it's exciting. Yep.
Now, a part of when we're with Work Together Better, why I like the term is it has to do also with process. And so you were mentioning earlier, how we're working together within these large organizations is really important in progressing the way that we do work together. Now, you said you guys are starting to use more agile processes, or what's going on right now? 3 or 4 follow-up questions more.
Sure.
Since it goes
Don't
into
ask
process.
me any hard questions and make me look bad, but
we wouldn't do that.
So the portfolio that I have, they're pretty large, and they're going to take a while, and so we're using the waterfall approach with those. With some of our customer-facing in the merchandising areas, and we're building out a data lake as well. So in those areas, we're hiring more people with agile backgrounds. And some of the teams are kind of already going there, not 100%, but they're starting to get Scrum Masters certified, bring them on board, and actually start using the agile methodology. As you know, that's a tough transition in itself to get people to think differently. In the PMO, we actually have been having some training sessions with all the project managers, and you will watch the project managers get very anxious when they hear with the agile methodology, you don't really have a project manager anymore. You have product owners and Scrum Masters and other roles. And so we're just in the beginning discussions with that transformation, in addition to all the other transformations. So it's a little scary, but very exciting at the same time. So getting there.
Yeah, I think it's an opportunity for people that have done traditional project management to learn something new, and that can be exciting, or it could be a little bit scary. And we have found with the Scrum Masters that we've had, more command and control project managers that like to structure it in a certain way. And they had a hard time moving to Agile, but some of them were able to make that that move over into more of a servant leader role of your facilitating and letting the team self-organize, and that feels sometimes irresponsible as a project manager. So I think there's a lot of challenge to the mindset of people that have done traditional project management for a long time. But I think there's a lot of common sense that I think very good project managers will realize the value for certain types of projects where Scrum is going to be a better fit for the business.
Yep. Yeah, especially on the customer facing side, right? so you can start to deliver something very quickly,
Right.
so people can see the difference. And it's just a transformation for the entire culture here. Advanced Auto Parts is kind of an older company. CarQuest was a well-established company. Worldpac and Auto Parts International those are our primary banners. They were all kind of established in their own way,
Right.
already, and so pushing those 4 banners together and then introducing all these new ways of working at the same time is a lot for people who've been here for a while. But there are people who are beginning to embrace it. But project managers in particular are going to have a challenge with the
We had yesterday had an internal discussion. Actually, got a couple folks involved from within 3Well, and the term that's being used nowadays is digital workplace. So it's sort of like the place where work gets done,
Right.
and it comprises not only your intranet. It's sort of like it's all the back end systems. It's everything. It's where people are where people are going to inside of larger or mid-sized, larger organizations to go get
Right.
that work done. It sounds like you got, as you're coordinating these different projects, that's a part of what you're doing is having to integrate these different systems together, talk about how they fit together, and how is it that how are they going to be consumed in the end as well.
Right. So the interesting thing about here is, you have your corporate entities, the office workers, if you will, but the bulk of our employees, somewhere around 70, 80,000 people, are in stores and distribution centers. And so as we go through this transformation, keeping in mind the impact to those people is super critical. There's a huge network upgrade happening across all of the stores and the distribution centers. Some of these groups, as we move to cloud-based products, like Workday, for example, if the pipes aren't big enough from the store, I can't go get my pay slip at the same time my manager is running a report, and I can't make a sale at the store because I'm using all of that. So it's a very interesting mix of challenges to get that piece right and to build trust and collaboration with the people who are selling the products directly to our customers and doing the corporate thing. So collaboration takes on a new meaning when you consider the different levels across the organization, and each one being as important as the next.
One of the other things we were talking about yesterday is the concept of inner loop conversations. So the things that you're working with the small team to go get things done, and then the outer loop is sort of outside that team. It could be anybody from like other departments to outside the company, and people you're working with outside the company, and just how those two things are progressing. I'm interested to hear, you mentioned you're using some of Microsoft Teams. Is that primarily for that inner loop type of, you're going and working on projects together to use Teams with? Is that what you're using it for?
Mostly I've seen it used for just instant messaging.
Yeah.
So we're not, as I mentioned earlier, we're not really leveraging the tools that we have to really build that collaboration. So we also have Jabber, but people aren't using that for instant messaging. They're using Teams.
Yeah.
And there are a couple of development groups who are using Teams as a real team.
Right.
But I haven't observed very good use of Teams as it's supposed to be used outside of instant messaging. So
Gotcha.
Opportunities abound.
Exciting.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, this has been great to catch back up, and I don't want to hold you away from, you've got a date night tonight, correct?
That's right, Valentine's night early.
Well, happy Valentine's Day to you.
Thank you.
I know I also would love to catch up even more. So I'll follow up later on as well.
Okay.
I know this is just a short conversation here, but really appreciate your time and staying in touch, and say hello to Alan, and thank you for doing this, Tricia.
Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Thank you everybody for listening, and have a wonderful day. Bye-bye.